Hello there. So right now, the UK is properly in the grip of a dramatic Arctic blast. We're talking severe frost, ice, and for some, quite a bit of snow. But the real story here, the one that's giving meteorologists a massive headache, is what's coming next. We are looking at a week of genuine, deep uncertainty, a true forecaster's nightmare. All right, let's get into it and unpack exactly why this cold snap is so significant and why it's proving so incredibly tricky to predict. To really get a handle on what's going on, you have to look at where this cold is coming from. And as this quote from Gab's WeatherVids puts it so well, this is not just another chilly January day. No way. This is a major meteorological event. We are talking about a direct pipeline of bitterly cold, true Arctic air being funneled straight down from the high north, causing temperatures to just plummet and setting the stage for some really serious winter weather. And when we say cold, we really mean it. The forecasts are suggesting that in some rural spots, especially up north where there's already a good blanket of snow on the ground, temperatures could dive as low as -10°C. That's snow, you see. It acts like a perfect insulator. It stops any heat escaping from the ground, which lets the air right above it get exceptionally cold overnight. This is a severe, penetrating kind of frost that brings with it some significant risks. So first up, let's take a look at what's happening on the ground right now. With this polar air locked firmly in place, you can feel the impacts pretty much everywhere, from the northern Isles of Scotland all the way down to the West Country. When you look at the actual hazards, the variety is pretty striking. Up in northern Scotland, they're not just seeing a bit of snow, they're getting frequent, heavy showers that are really piling up. And with those strong northerly winds, you've got blizzard conditions and significant drifting snow. A bit further south, coastal areas are seeing a messy mix of sleet and snow. But for almost all of us, the biggest issue is the widespread hard frost and some really treacherous ice. The Met Office has issued a whole raft of yellow and even some amber warnings, so it is absolutely crucial to stay up to date as this whole thing unfolds. Yeah, this chart really puts the cold into perspective, doesn't it? The average high for this time of year is usually around a mild 7 degrees. But look at this. The forecast high is struggling to even get its head above freezing, sitting at just 1 degree for many of us. But here's the real kicker, the wind chill. That biting northerly wind makes it feel so much colder. We're talking well into the minus figures. It's a kind of cold that just cuts right through you the second you step outside. Okay, so we know it's cold, but why? Why is this happening? Well, to understand that, we need to look far to our north, up towards Greenland and Iceland, and talk about the real engine behind this entire weather pattern. Let's get into the science of the snap. So the main culprit has a name. It's called a blocking high. Honestly, the best way to think about it is to picture our usual weather, which normally comes in from the Atlantic, as a flowing stream. Well, a blocking high is like a giant, stubborn rock that's just been dropped right in the middle of that stream. It just sits there, completely stuck, and it forces the entire flow of weather to go all the way around it. And this is exactly how that block is creating our freeze. A huge area of high pressure has parked itself right over Greenland, and that completely obstructs the milder, wetter, windier weather that we would normally get from the Atlantic. So instead of flowing from west to east over us, the whole airflow is diverted. It's forced to go the long way around the block, and that creates a direct northerly wind that scoops up all that frigid Arctic air and funnels it straight down our way. The block is the reason we're frozen. Simple as that. Right, now this is where it gets really complicated, but also pretty fascinating. The cold air is here, it's dug in, but the Atlantic, well, it doesn't just give up. As we push into the middle of the week, those milder, wetter systems are going to try and shove their way back in, and that is setting the stage for a proper, monumental clash of air masses right over the UK. So here are our two opponents in this weather battle. In one corner, you've got the established Arctic air. It is bitterly cold, it's pretty dry, and it's firmly entrenched over us. And in the other corner, you have the approaching Atlantic air. It's much milder, but, and this is the crucial bit, it is full of moisture. And that moisture is the fuel for precipitation, whether that's rain, sleet, or snow. This is the perfect setup for a forecasting nightmare. And this quote from the Met Office really just nails the problem. What on earth happens when that moisture-packed Atlantic air bumps into the solid block of freezing cold air that's just sitting over the country? Well, that moisture has to fall as precipitation, but will it be cold enough for snow, or will the milder air win out just enough to turn it into rain or sleet? That is the multi-million-dollar question. So, this is the crucial point. This clash creates what meteorologists are calling a knife-edge forecast. The final outcome is balanced on an incredibly fine margin, and that makes it one of the absolute trickiest situations to predict with any certainty a few days out. Let's dig into exactly why this is such a dilemma. This is it. This is the absolute heart of the uncertainty. The battle between the cold and mild air means that the temperature at ground level and just above our heads is going to be hovering right around that 0-degree freezing mark. A tiny shift, just 1 or 2 degrees in the final forecast, could be the difference between a major, disruptive snow event with 10 centimeters piling up and just a miserable day of cold, slushy rain that washes it all away. It really is that marginal. And to see this uncertainty in action, you just have to look at the supercomputer models. These are 3 of the world's leading weather computers, and right now they're all telling slightly different stories for the middle of the week. The American GFS model is going all in on a huge snow event, maybe even blizzards, but the European ECMWF model thinks the milder air will push in further, leading to more of a rain and sleet mix. And then the German ICON model is somewhere in between. When the models themselves can't agree, you know just how unpredictable the situation truly is. I think this quote from Weekly Weather Updates really captures the mood among forecasters perfectly. This isn't a simple case of looking at a chart and just knowing what will happen. It's a dynamic, evolving situation. The final path of that low-pressure system, its exact timing, the intensity, all of that is going to be constantly tweaked in the models. The forecast is literally going to be in flux right up until the last minute. Okay, so with all of this complexity, all this uncertainty, what are the key things that you need to know? Let's talk takeaways. What should you actually be watching for over the next few days? Okay, number 1, and this is absolutely crucial, stay updated. The forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday will change, so keep checking with reliable sources like the Met Office. Before you travel at any point this week, please check the conditions, because ice is going to be a persistent hazard. And here's a really important one. Beware of black ice. Even on a sunny day, any snow that melts will refreeze incredibly quickly as soon as that sun sets, creating these treacherous, invisible sheets of ice. And finally, just remember that your exact location is going to determine everything. The rain/snow line could be unbelievably sharp. It could be snowing heavily where you are, while 5 miles down the road, it's just raining. Ultimately, this week is just a perfect reminder that the British Isles are a true weather battleground. The fight between that stubborn Arctic cold and the relentless Atlantic is about to play out right over our heads. The models are going to keep running, the forecasters will keep debating, but the final outcome, well, it remains balanced on a knife edge. Thanks for joining me.